Hello and welcome to a very special Punters Guide here at Doncaster Racecourse for the Betfred St Leger Festival and the world's oldest classic itself, the Betfred St Leger, the feature race of the day of the meeting on Saturday. Frankie Foster is alongside. We're going to preview the first four races here at Donny and the two big Group 1s over in Ireland, an Irish Champions weekend as well. What a weekend of action, Frankie.
It's quality, isn't it? There's good racing all over, and there's 4 great days racing here. Sometimes you don't forget about the Leger by any means, but when it creeps up on you, because all the talk's just about the Leger, until you get here, you don't always remember that there are 4 really, really good days of racing. It's been great fun so far, and all eyes are on the Leger, and as you know, and as viewers know, if you've been watching and listening to me, all eyes on the Coolmore team.
Yes, they've got 3 of the 7 runners. We're passing this famous winning post at Doncaster for the world's oldest classic at around about 3:40 on Saturday afternoon. But before that, we've got 4 Betfred-sponsored races to look forward to. The Betfred Champagne Stakes for the juveniles. Only 6 go here. Aidan O'Brien brings over Aftermath, but the market's latched on to Chancellor, who's already got course and distance winning form here.
He does, yes, but Wolf of Badenoch also has a bit of winning form here and was a second at Goodwood to Amori City, very good horse. Third in that race was Cool Hoof Luke, who won the Gimcrack. And Outlaw's Grace was in that race, who didn't run well at York but was drawn the wrong side of the track, and Hannon really fancied that horse. So I think that Goodwood form is the best on offer here, and if he runs to that form, and you think that he would, having won here already, I think he's overpriced. I know it's a small field and it's not a big price, but I do think, in my opinion, he should be shorter than he is. Wolf of Badenoch.
Well, come out onto the track here at Doncaster. You see down there the famous 5 furlongs. It's a mile long, but the 5 furlongs. The quickest race probably of the week will be the Portland Handicap. 22 runners spread across the track, Frankie. This is a tough punter's puzzle.
It is. You want a price in this, though. You have to be backing something at a decent price each way because you need a bit of luck. So if you're going too short and things don't fall out for you, you're just hard done by. There's a couple in here I like, but the one that I'm talking myself into more and more and more is Vintage Claret, who was 5th in this last year, off a couple of pounds higher. His last winning mark was 91. He races off 90. He ran with credit at York on the wrong side of the track. I know I keep banging on about that, but I don't think I've seen a meeting where track bias was as prevalent as it was that week. And anything that finished well on the stand side at York has to be in with a chance next time out of a similar mark. He's down to 90. He likes this track. They like this race. He's got a massive chance. Yeah, Vintage Claret has been nibbled at. We mentioned this race, didn't we, early on in the week and in a preview show, and you also had a thought on Desert Cop as well. Yeah, another one that's absolutely fallen in the handicap marks, and you need it to go right on its day. Similar, to be honest, because Desert Cop's been rated up in the hundreds, now down back near his last winning mark. Also raced in that same race on the stand side at York and has had a little spin on the all-weather since just to freshen him up. So you'd think that, or definitely this would have been in mind when they went to the all-weather after having a bit of poor luck at York and not being on the right side of things. So there's 2 that their mark is coming down due to poor performances, but I'm an optimist, Matt, forever the optimist. And I do think there's a big performance in him.
Yeah, I quite like Cover Up as well, who's luckless at York for Jonathan Thady goes, and Kieran Schumacher on board, drawn hard up on the stands rail in 21. I think with a bit of luck and running, the 5.5 furlong trip should suit him. So it's Cover Up for me in the Portland. Do you know what? I probably will have a little nibble on Vintage Clarets as well, because he's another one who's looks to be hitting the bar. It's Vintage Clarets and Desert Cup for Frankie in the big sprint. Well, here we are in front of this huge Betfred-adorned stand here at Doncaster. But want to know what the winner of the 7 furlong Betfred Park Stakes is, the Group 2, Kinross. Likely to make a big chunk out of the market, of course. He looks to have his favourite softer ground here. We've also got Lead Artist back to form. He's been highly talked about this year. And Lake Forest, you got upset in the stalls last time out. He's got a little bit of something to prove all of a sudden.
I got upset when he got upset.
So did I. Especially when the Fav got stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I really fancied him at York, and I suppose I have to be with him again, to be honest, because I fancied him to beat Audience, and Audience has had the better of some of these in here. So on that basis, and the reasons why I was backing him at York Lake Forest is, he was second to Inner Sharing. I think he's a really good sprinter over six. He was second to Elite Status at Newbury, and Elite Status seems to really like Newbury. And 7 furlongs, I reckon, will really, really suit him. So that's where I started, but I obviously did have to have a good look at the race and see what was in it. Lead Artist does certainly deserve a strong shout, but I just wonder, maybe a bit of speed from some of these 6-7 furlongers rather than a miler might catch him out. And then it would be great to see Kinross win, because he hasn't been in the winners' enclosure this season and he's a proper legend of a horse. But when you've got an older horse slowly showing signs of decline and you've got a younger horse like Lake Forest who has all of the potential yet to come, you've got to side with the younger horse, in my opinion. So I reckon the money will come. Even as I've looked at it in the last hour this morning, it's shortened, and in those colours with some shrewd connections involved, if they're on track like they were at York, I reckon Lake Forest could go off a bit shorter, and provided he starts, could be a good bet.
Yeah, Lake Forest and two great efforts. Of course, last year's G-Crack winner could be the one in the Betfred Park Stakes. Next, we'll look at the big one, the Betfred St Leger. Well, here we are then, the winner's enclosure. The Betfred St Leger is the big one, Frankie. 3:47 go to post. What we want to know, he'll be making the walk into this circle about for 3:40 Saturday afternoon. There we are, he's giving it away, Illinois.
Yeah, that's what I think, Matt. And no points for originality. I've been with lots of these kind of favourites in the big races, the Coolmore-owned, Aidan O'Brien trained horses, but they get it so right, and I think they have to have a huge amount of confidence in Illinois to go and win this, with Los Angeles not coming here because they've got such a team of horses. I mean, they've got 3 in this race and a couple over in Ireland, but to kind of split them as they have, I think shows a lot of confidence in Illinois, and that has to be off the back of his second to Los Angeles at York. I thought he was going past him. I really did. And he's already won over a mile 6 in the Queen's Vase. That was over a mile 4 at York. Back to a mile 6, I think, is where he's best. He looks almost a bit laboured, which you kind of want at these staying races, don't you? You want it to almost be hard work for the jockey to get him going. And on a track like Donny, when they've just got so long to get into gear, which I think he needs, I really do think Wayne Lorden will just be motoring him up, gearing him up, and once he gets going, I think it'd be hard to stop. He's a favourite, and he's got competition, probably biggest competition in You Got To Me. She was behind Content, and Emily Upjohn was in the race. She's rated 115. They're good mares and fillies, but I don't know, the way that Illinois races, I think he just looks like a St Leger winner.
There we are then, Illinois, a St Leger winner, who give Aidan O'Brien an 8th win in this fantastic race, and Frankie thinks it'll be Illinois being led into this winner's circle after the Betfred St Leger at around about 3:40 on Saturday afternoon. A brilliant renewal, 7 as I say, go to post. We've got the Irish Oaks winner in You Got To Me, 3 for Aidan O'Brien in Illinois, Jan Brugel and Grosvenor Square. We've got the Betfred Derby 4th, Darren Mile, the Irish Derby 2nd, Sunway, and Wild Waves the outsider, Andrew Baldwin. Do you know what? The way Aidan O'Brien talks about Grosvenor Square I thought was very interesting, but I thought if there's one to upset the Coolmore clan, it could be Sunway.
Yeah, I just don't know if he'll stay.
That is the question.
Christophe
Soumillon coming to ride.
Yeah, no, it's a massive shout, isn't it? And David Menezes, he's obviously thrilled that Christophe Soumillon's coming to ride, and he probably could have won over in Ireland, having a bit better trip. That's the game you play against the Coolmore team, isn't it? When they've got a couple in the race, their fancied horse always gets first run, and Sunway arguably could have won that day. I just wonder, is a mile 6 going to stretch him?
It might do. It will do. Test all of these staminas for these 3 odds, but Frankie's with Illinois. Whatever, enjoy the great race, the Betfred St Leger at 3:35 on Saturday. Obviously a brilliant day here at Doncaster. We've also got Irish Champions Weekend getting underway. Frankie's going to visit the Curragh on Sunday, but it's Leopardstown on Saturday. A couple of Group 1s to look forward to, including the Matron Stakes due off at 2:50, where Port of Fortuna looks for 3 consecutive Group 1 contests. We've got Fallen Angel, the Irish 1000 Guineas heroine, in new silks, new connections for her.
New connections, and this could be James Doyle's first Group 1, if he can win on her, for Wathnam Racing, which surprised me actually, because he's been Royal Ascot winners in closure, he's popping up all over the place, isn't he? But no Group 1, plenty of Group 3s and Group 2s, Matt, and she will actually be my selection, given that she was well fancied for the English 1000 and things didn't work out for her there, but then backed it up in the Irish 1000, suggests that she's as good as they thought. Well, she is as good as they thought she was, and New Connections decided to come here. And I reckon they would have been buying her for that reason. What Group 1 can we get a horse for, and when might it work with the season? And this is where it's fallen. It's a really good field. Obviously, Port of Fortuna sets the standard, having won the last 2 times. Even Lang Lang's pretty interesting, isn't she? Yeah. Because, well, at one point she was unbeatable in the English 1000 before it was ran. So it's a good field. I just feel like Fallen Angel is probably the one that we don't know everything about and has a lot of talent.
There we are then, Fallen Angel, yes. Your Irish 1000 Guineas heroine to go back to Ireland, but in new colours, and win the Matron. And then we've got the Irish Champion Stakes at 325. 8 go to post. Aidan O'Brien saddles half the field here. We've got a runner from Japan in Shin Emperor. But Economics, remember how impressive he was in the Dante and in France last time out. Very lightly raced, looking for 4 on the spin. He's the warm order. This is interesting because he's the warm one coming over from England for William Haggis. Aidan O'Brien won't let this price slip out of his homeland though.
No, he won't. Do you know what? I'm actually willing to take him on with 2. Economics, he might be a superstar. He's a bit short for me. He obviously had his issues, didn't he, after York, and questions, does he go to the Betfred Derby, and how's his season going to work out? I don't know, something worries me about him. If he wins this, then, fair and square. But he hasn't come up against top level competition yet. I know he was really impressive over in France, but that still wasn't like the best horses we've got around this season. So he still has a question mark, and at his price, for me, he's too short. And going over to Ireland's another thing, isn't it? You've got to go over there and make it work. But I am siding with Ghostwriter. I think he's overpriced again. He's been so good to me. I've been backing him each way, and he's been paying every single time. He hasn't been winning races, but at 33s or whatever he was in the international, you take that to come third. And the way I'm kind of summing this up is, City of Troy, it is a better Betfred Derby winner than Augusta Rodin. He's been talked about as in another stratosphere. And Ghostwriter's been getting close to him on 2 occasions. Now, when you move him into this race, and Augusta Rodin is, the pick of Ryan Moore, he's the Coolmore kind of leader, I think that gap's going to close. And he's a great price to back each way for a horse that's come in the top 3 the last 2 times in basically the best races we've got around this trip. So, for me, he's still overpriced, and he's still worth an each way bet. And yeah, I'm not even with Augusta Rodin. I said that, earlier in the week, didn't I? Whatever Ryan Moore picks, go for. I'd honestly would have Los Angeles over Augusta Rodin. So I'm hoping for once Coolmore have got it wildly wrong, and Ghostwriter would be my pick to win. Economics might be 2 lengths in front or out the back of the telly, and maybe not as good as we thought. And out of the Coolmore bunch, I think Los Angeles.
Interesting. Obviously, you can go onto our Betfred YouTube channel and see an interview I did with Aidan O'Brien talking about his Betfred St Leger candidates and 3 of his runners in the Irish Champion Stakes as well. So lots of news from the master trainer on that channel. So that's the 2 good ones at Leopardstown. But your best bet of the weekend, I think, is also at Leopardstown.
Yes. Almost forgot
You don't
that.
like Economics, but you do like his stablemate a little later on.
Yeah, so hopefully Tom Marquand gets in the winners' enclosure once. Maljoum, I think's hugely overpriced. What time? He goes in the 2:15, and the current favourite is Delego Velasquez, who, don't get me wrong, he won a Group 2 last time, but wasn't a strong Group 2, and he's had this price tag to live up to, hasn't he? His entire short career, but his entire career. I don't think he's as good as Maljoum. He's finishing behind Notable Speech, or no, behind Charin, wasn't it? And we saw what Charin did, although 10 lengths too late in France. I think the market's wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe there's a bit of local bias there, and English jockeys have got to go over and ride the Curragh and all the rest of it, and horses have got to travel. But if he's 3-1, Maljoum better the whole weekend.
There we are, Maljoum bet of the weekend then for Frankie's. Hopefully they've put in the direction of a few winners at a sun-drenched Doncaster. A brilliant weekend of racing, of course, look forward to with the Betfred St Leger, the feature of the whole weekend for us at 3:40 on Saturday.